Scouts and Shadows. The morning came too early, though Edrick supposed mornings always did when you'd barely slept. He stood in the courtyard as the eastern sky turned from black to deep blue, watching the organized chaos of departure preparations. Rose's company, 50 soldiers handpicked by Captain Torvin, assembled with the practiced efficiency of veterans. Horses stamped and snorted in the cold air, their breath making clouds that hung like ghosts in the torchlight. Rose herself moved through the ranks, checking saddles and supplies with a critical eye. She'd pulled her dark hair back in the practical braid she favored for travel, and her armor, well-worn leather reinforced with steel plates, bore the scars of a dozen campaigns. Edrick felt the familiar ache in his chest, the human part that still feared for those he loved, even knowing she was one of the finest warriors in the kingdom. She fights well, the Devourer observed with something almost like approval. For a mortal? She's my sister, Edrick thought back firmly. Not a mortal. Rose. Yes, Rose. The one who promised to kill you if I win. A pause, then something that might have been respect. I appreciate the pragmatism, even if it wounds your soft heart. Edrick ignored the commentary and crossed the courtyard to where Rose stood adjusting her horse's bridle. She looked up as he approached, and for just a moment, her professional mask slipped. He saw the worry there, the reluctance to leave him. You'll be careful, she said. It wasn't a question. Always am, Edrick replied, managing a slight smile. You're the one riding into bandit territory. Bandits I can handle. Rose's hand moved unconsciously to her sword hilt, that nervous habit she developed since old Ravenhold. It's leaving you here that bothers me. If the fragment, Shamaz and Alluria will be watching, Edrick interrupted gently. And Commander Aldwin has orders to put a sword through my heart if I start glowing green and talking about devouring the world. Rose didn't laugh. This isn't funny, Edrick. I know. He reached out and squeezed her shoulder. But it's necessary. Lord Brennan's people need help, and you're the only one I trust to handle it properly. 3 weeks. You'll be back before the nobles gather at Old Ravenhold, and we'll face that particular nightmare together. She studied his face in the growing dawn light, searching for... what? Signs of corruption? Evidence that the Devourer was winning their internal war? Whatever she sought, she must have been satisfied, because she finally nodded. 3 weeks, she agreed. And if I come back to find you've done something stupid, you'll kill me, I know. You keep saying that. This time he did get a faint smile from her. Someone has to keep you humble, Your Majesty. Captain Torvin approached, his stocky frame moving with a veteran's economy of motion. We're ready, my lord, my lady. The northern road should be clear for the first 2 days, but after that, he shrugged, depends on how bold these bandits are feeling. They're organized, Rose said, her tone shifting to pure tactical assessment. Hitting villages that support the crown specifically. That's not opportunistic raiding, that's strategy. Which is why I'm sending you, Edrick said. Find out who's organizing them and why. And Rose? He waited until she met his eyes. Come home. She swung into her saddle with practiced grace. Always do, brother. Edrick watched them ride out, 50 soldiers following Rose through the castle gates as the sun finally broke over the eastern horizon. The green light in his chest pulsed steadily, calm and controlled, but he felt the Devourer's attention on the departing company. You've divided your strength, it observed. Sent away your best warrior when threats gather on all sides. I've deployed my resources where they're needed most, Edrick corrected. That's what a king does. And when the 50 return from the desolation, transformed and hungry for your blood, when the nobles at Old Ravenhold demand proof you're not corrupted, when the next crisis erupts and your best warrior is 3 days' ride away, then I'll handle it, Edrick thought firmly. With Shamaz, Alluria, and Commander Aldwin, I'm not alone. The Devourer's amusement rippled through his consciousness. No, you're not alone. You have me. Edrick chose not to respond to that. Instead, he turned and headed for the strategy room where Alluria and Commander Aldwin were already assembling the scout teams. The strategy room had been transformed overnight. Maps covered every surface, detailed charts of the desolation marked with red ink showing the 7 major corruption sites. The Screaming Hollows, the Shattered Spire, the Weeping Chasm, the Blackened Grove, the Mirror Pool, the Bone Garden, the Throne of Ash, each location where reality had been torn during the dark days, where the Devourer's essence had leaked for centuries before Edrick's binding. Aluria stood at the main table, her dark fingers tracing paths through the wasteland. She'd barely slept either, Edrick noted, seeing the shadows under her eyes. But her voice was steady as she briefed the assembled scouts, 10 men and women chosen for their experience tracking in hostile territory. The desolation isn't like normal wilderness, she was saying. Time moves wrong there. You might travel for what feels like hours and find you've only covered a few hundred yards. Or you'll make camp for the night and wake up to find 3 days have passed. She looked up, meeting each scout's eyes in turn. The 50 cultists fled north from Forsaken Lake. They're seeking the old places, and they have maybe a week's head start. Your job isn't to engage them, it's to find them, mark their locations, and get word back to us. What if they find us first? Asked one of the scouts, a lean woman named Kara, with the weathered look of someone who'd spent years in the wilderness. Commander Aldwin, standing beside Aluria, answered that one. Run, hide, survive. These aren't cultists anymore, or they won't be by the time you find them. They're drinking deep of corruption that's been festering for 3,000 years. Even our king, she gestured to Edrick as he entered, says there'll be something between human and other. Your scouts, not soldiers, live to report back. Edrick moved to the table, studying the maps. The Devourer's presence in his mind made the corrupted sites almost glow in his awareness, as if he could sense them through the parchment itself. The screaming hollows, the Devourer murmured. Where minds break and reality howls. The shattered spire, where gravity forgets itself. The weeping chasm, where time bleeds backward. A pause. They're choosing their transformations carefully, little king. Each site will change them differently. Split into 5 teams, Edrick said aloud, pointing to the map. 2 scouts per team. Kara and Tom, you take the Screaming Hollows. Maris and Jace, the Shattered Spire. Eldon and Vera, the Weeping Chasm. Kor and Senna, the Blackened Grove. Ryla and Davin, the Mirror Pool. That leaves the Bone Garden and Throne of Ash uncovered, Aluria noted. Those 2 are deepest in the desolation, Edrick said. If the cultists reach them already, they're beyond our tracking anyway. Focus on the 5 we can reach within a week's travel. And if we find them? Tom asked. He was younger than the others, maybe 25, but his eyes held the steady calm of someone who'd faced death before. Don't engage, Edrick repeated. Mark the location, count their numbers if you can, and return. We need intelligence, not heroes. Though heroes would be more entertaining, the Devourer added privately. Be quiet. Make me. Edrick suppressed the urge to respond to that. Instead, he continued the briefing. You leave within the hour. Commander Aldwin has arranged supply packs and horses. Travel in pairs, never separate, and if the corruption starts affecting your minds, headaches, hearing voices, seeing things that aren't there, turn back immediately. Is that clear? 10 heads nodded in unison. Good. May the old gods watch over you. Edrick dismissed them with a gesture, watching as the scouts filed out to make their final preparations. When the room had emptied except for himself, Aluria, and Commander Aldwin, he allowed himself to slump slightly against the table. The weight of command, as always, felt heavier than any armor. You're worried, Aluria observed. I'm sending 10 people into the desolation to track 50 fanatics who are actively trying to become monsters, Edrick said flatly. Of course I'm worried. They're good scouts, Aldwin said. Best we have. They know the risks. Knowing the risks and surviving them are different things. Edrick straightened, forcing himself back to full attention. What about the informants? Grandmother Mirren and her people? Aluria pulled out another map, this one showing Castle Stormmoor and the surrounding villages. Red markers dotted various locations. 17 former cultists have volunteered information so far. Mirren's grandson Marcus has been especially helpful. He knows the organizational structure, the meeting places, the symbols they use to identify each other. Can we trust them? Aldwin asked bluntly. Some more than others, Aluria admitted. But Marcus seems genuine. His grandmother nearly died when he joined the cult. It destroyed their relationship. Getting her back matters to him. Put him to work, Edrick decided. Have him help identify other cultists in the castle town and surrounding villages. Anyone who might not have been at Forsaken Lake, who might not know what happened there yet. And when we find them? Aldwyn's hand rested on her sword hilt. What then? Edrick met her steady gaze. We offer them the same choice I offered at the lake. Accept the truth, that the Devourer is caged, that the prophecies were corrupted lies, or face justice for any crimes they've committed. No persecution for belief alone, but actions have consequences. Some won't accept it, Aluria warned. The 50 who fled proved that. I know. The green light in Edrick's chest pulsed, and he felt the Devourer's attention sharpen. But we try anyway, because the alternative is hunting down and executing everyone who ever believed in a corrupted prophecy, and that's a road I won't walk. Even when it costs you, the Devourer observed. Even when mercy becomes weakness. Especially then, Edrick thought back. A knock at the door interrupted the conversation. One of the castle guards entered looking nervous. Your Majesty, there's someone here to see you. Says he has information about the cult. Send him in, Edrick said. The man who entered was perhaps 40, with the weathered skin of someone who worked outdoors and the nervous energy of someone who'd made a difficult decision. He wore simple farmer's clothes, and his hands twisted his cap as he approached. Your Majesty, he said, the words coming out in a rush. My name's Corvin. I was at Forsaken Lake. I saw what you did, how you proved the god could be caged. He swallowed hard. I came home 2 days ago, told my family the truth. But there's others in my village, Thornwick, 3 days east, who weren't there. They still believe. And they're planning something. Edrick leaned forward. What kind of something? A ritual. In 3 days at the new moon. Corvin's voice dropped to almost a whisper. They think if they can't free the Devourer from you, maybe they can. Call to it. Wake it up inside you. Make it strong enough to break your will. The green light in Edrick's chest flared, and for just a moment, he felt the Devourer's interest spike like a blade. Interesting, it murmured. Very interesting indeed. Edrick forced the light back down, maintained control, but his mind was already racing. 3 days, a new moon, and cultists who thought they could wake the Devourer from within his prison of flesh and will. How many? He asked Corvin. Maybe 20, maybe more. I don't know all of them. They kept it secret, even from believers like me. Corvin looked miserable. I should have said something before, should have questioned it, but I believed. We all believed. You're telling us now, Aluria said gently. That's what matters. Edrick turned to Commander Aldwyn. Send word to Captain Torvin. He's only half a day out. He can redirect to Thornwick. And I want. No, Aldwyn interrupted, then caught herself. Forgive me, Your Majesty, but no, you're not riding to Thornwick yourself. That's exactly what they want, to get you close enough to attempt their ritual. She's right, Aluria added. This could be a trap. It's definitely a trap, the Devourer confirmed. Though whether it will work is another question entirely, Edrick considered. 3 days to the new moon. Rose and her company too far north to recall, the scouts departing for the desolation. And somewhere in Thornwick, cultists preparing a ritual designed to break his control. Aluria, you'll lead the response, he decided. Take 20 soldiers. Corvin will guide you. Stop the ritual before it starts, arrest the cultists, and bring them back here for questioning. And you? Aluria asked. I'll be here, preparing for the noble's arrival at Old Ravenhold. Edrick managed a thin smile. Shamaz can help me practice looking properly kingly and uncorrupted. How boring, the Devourer sighed. As Aluria left to gather her forces and Corvin was led away to get food and rest, Edrick found himself alone with Commander Aldwyn. The veteran warrior studied him with eyes that had seen too many battles to be fooled by false confidence. You're worried about the ritual? She said quietly. Wouldn't you be? Edrick touched his chest, feeling the steady pulse of green light beneath his palm. We don't know what they're planning. What if they can reach the Devourer? What if they can strengthen it somehow? They can't, the Devourer said with absolute certainty. Your will is the cage, little king. No external ritual can break that. Only your own weakness. It's a risk, Aldwyn agreed. But so is everything now. You made your choice at Old Ravenhold. You chose to be the prison. Now you live with that choice, one day at a time. And if one day I fail, Aldwyn's hand moved to her sword, then I keep my promise, quick and clean the way you'd want it. She met his eyes. But not today. Today, you're still you, still Edrick, still our king. The words should have been comforting. Instead, they just reminded him of how precarious his control really was. One moment of weakness, one successful ritual, one day when the Devourer's patience finally won out over his will. "Stop brooding," the Devourer chided. "It's unbecoming of a king. You're the one who keeps predicting my failure." "Predicting isn't hoping. I'm quite content in this arrangement, actually. Better to be imprisoned in interesting times than free in a void." Edrick left the strategy room and climbed to the battlements, needing air and space to think. The castle bustled below, soldiers training in the courtyard, servants moving between buildings, the normal life of a fortress at peace. But the peace was fragile, maintained by his constant vigilance and the loyalty of those who believed in him. The sun climbed higher, burning away the morning mist. Somewhere to the north, Rose rode toward bandit territory. Somewhere to the east, 10 scouts approached the desolation's edge. Somewhere in Thornwick, cultists prepared their ritual. And here, at the center of it all, a king stood on his battlements, with an ancient evil caged in his chest. 3 weeks, Edrick thought. 3 weeks until the nobles gather. 3 days until the new moon. And who knows how long until the 50 emerge from the old places. "You're counting time like a man with a deadline," the Devourer observed. "Aren't I?" "No, little king. You're counting time like a man who thinks he'll run out of it. But you won't. That's the curse of our binding. You have all the time in the world. Centuries to watch your sister age and die. Centuries to see everyone you love turn to dust. Centuries to wonder if you made the right choice." The green light pulsed, and Edrick felt the weight of immortality pressing down on him like a physical thing. But he pushed it aside, locked it away in the same mental space where he kept all the fears he couldn't afford to feel. "One crisis at a time," he murmured aloud. Below, in the courtyard, he saw Shamaz emerge from the archives, carrying an armload of books. The old healer looked up, spotted Edrick on the battlements, and waved. A simple gesture. A reminder that he wasn't alone. Edrick waved back, then turned to descend the stairs. There was work to do, research to review, preparations to make, a kingdom to protect. The Devourer might be right about the centuries stretching ahead, but that was a problem for future Edrick. Today's Edrick had scouts to worry about, a ritual to stop, and nobles to impress. One crisis at a time. The green light in his chest pulsed in what might have been agreement. And together, king and monster, prison and prisoner, they faced another day.
Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures. Thanks for watching our stories. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more epic adventures.